municipalities, and then there's IGAs, which are intergovernmental agreements. We have a specific one for the Folly Road corridor, and that is really the main agent on that is the SCDOT, because it's a Folly Road's a DOT road.
So in other words, DOT is agreeing to the maintenance on it, or I guess what I'm wondering is who's agreeing, who's accepting the maintenance in this agreement.
So that's what this agreement identifies. It identifies who will maintain what items. So, for example, the DOT will maintain the sidewalk, but maybe the county will maintain, for example, some drainage. So this agreement will outline that.
Okay. It may be that I need to talk offline with the individual jurisdictions about how it's working for the private properties that are upgrading theirs under the Folly Road corridor overlay. But that's a question that's been coming up a lot lately for me.
Yeah, it's just different project per project. Like the bike lanes in this case will be maintained by the city. So it's just something we're working out, and that's why it takes so long to work these things out. Anything not on private property will be maintained by either the DOT, the county, or the city, or even the town.
Yeah, I think that that's something that I'm starting to see with a lot of property owners along Folly Road, is there's like a huge amount of resistance to this, the Folly Road corridor overlay. And I think if maybe we could help them join into a larger maintenance agreement or something along those lines, that's sort of larger feedback for the group from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Whitmore. Anybody else have any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4, the Folly Beach Shuttle Working Group Report. And that's going to be given by Toole.
All right. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Really, the Beach Shuttle Working Group report today is we just wanted to report out on the survey that is currently live. As you will recall, at the October meeting, the committee approved launching a beach shuttle survey to the public, which that occurred shortly thereafter. It's been out there for a number of weeks now. And so we just want to give a preliminary summary of what we have. The survey has not been closed at this time. We will continue to receive input on it. But just very quickly, again, this is preliminary in nature, but we did want to share with you that as of yesterday, we have 386 responses. And just to give you a feel, that's pretty good for a survey of this type. Normally, just looking at it from sort of a statistical standpoint, when you have sort of an open window like this, no defined population that you're trying to necessarily reach, we were hoping to get about right around 400 responses. So we're right at that number. So we feel like this is very successful at this point. You can see here just a couple of big ticket items that we wanted to share with you. Of those 386 responses, currently 86% say they would use a shuttle, provided that it had more convenience than their own car. So you can see there, if it had a dedicated lane of some sort and was only a 10-minute ride to the beach, that would be motivating to folks to get out of their own cars and go to a parking ride. You can see it's kind of just the opposite. If that shuttle is going to sit in the same traffic that they would have to sit in their own automobile, 82% say they would not use it. So I think right now that's a pretty telling statistic that we need to keep in mind as this moves forward as a concept. Did want to ask all of you to help us get the word out on the survey. The survey is going to remain live through Wednesday, December 28th. And contrary to a lot of what you might think, the holidays are actually a good time for online surveys. We have seen surveys that we have launched. We've actually launched surveys over the holidays. We launched one survey a couple of years ago on December 23rd. And within the first 3 days, we had over 600 responses. I think it's because you've got a lot of folks that are sitting around at mom, dad's, grandma's house, and they're flipping through their phone, looking at social media, and they say, "Hey, I could do a survey while I'm sitting here." So really, it would be great to get this word out a little more. So share it via social media if you can. We do have the social media square that we're happy to get out to anyone. I will also tell you a simple way to get that social media square is Charleston Moves has posted it to their channels, so you could easily go and copy it or repost it from their channels. The QR code is a great way to lead people to the survey, but you can also, if all you want to do is just shoot something out there via Instagram or Facebook, you can just send them to rethinkfollyroad.com, and it's at the top of the web page, easy link to get to the survey as well. And so that covers that update for us.
Thanks, Ernie. Anybody have any questions on that? Yes, I guess it's Councilmember Parker.
Thanks, Ernie. Do you know if IOP, do they have a dedicated lane, or is it just in the normal beach traffic?
I'm not positive. My understanding it's in the normal beach traffic, but someone else on the call may know better than I do.
Normal beach traffic.
Anybody else? Yeah, I know, Councilmember Parker, we talked about perhaps being able to control at least the median or some portion of one of the lanes on Folly Road on just the weekends as a potential idea, so that there was some incentive to use the bus rather than sit in the traffic in your car. But obviously, once you get to where it narrows down after the bridge, it would be harder to have a dedicated lane. But on some weekends, that would save you a lot of time waiting from, potentially back almost to the Walmart and up to that area. So we'll definitely keep getting it out there. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, thanks so much, Ernie. I appreciate your update. And then Kyle, and is there someone else from Tool that's going to do the phase 2, item number 5, the project grant opportunity update?
Yeah, if I'll just introduce this real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Kyle to start with the RAISE grant. But we just had a couple of grant opportunities that we wanted to make sure to give you kind of an update on. And so Kyle's going to start out, and then I'll pick it up with the TST application.
Yeah, I'm Kyle James, planner over at BCDCOG, and presented a little while back on some potential federal grant opportunities, and one of them's just come back around for another cycle. It's the RAISE grant. You may be familiar with some of its previous names, either Tiger or Build. A build application is what's funding the Ashley River crossing, and a RAISE application is funding kind of the first phase of the Low Country Low Line within the city of Charleston, for reference. So this grant application is now going to be due at the end of February. And currently the notice of funding opportunities is actually pretty limited. This is a little unusual, but they were a little rushed to get it to meet their kind of deadline of November 30th. So they do say that an updated notice of funding opportunity will be sent out today with more information on if there's any changes to the criteria, any changes to the non-federal match requirements. But in general, this is a $5 million to $25 million grant. And it comes with a 20% non-federal match that has to be supplied by the applicant, and multiple jurisdictions can work together on an application, but it is highly competitive. And there is some level of optimism to think from the last cycle that bicycle and pedestrian projects or transit projects are a higher priority than they've been in the past. But given that there are 2 open applications for our region, that does make it a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but a little bit more difficult to be competitive.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Does anybody have any questions on those grant opportunities?
Councilmember, this is Spencer. I guess, do we need to make a motion to apply for that, or how does that work? And I guess if we do have to do that, Kyle, what's the manpower involved in applying, since we've already done one before?
Well, we haven't applied for one for Folly, the ReThink Folly project yet, and they are a lot of work. In particular, doing the cost benefit analysis is a little bit of work, and then writing the narrative is work, and then there's a bunch of standard forms that come with it, but not an impossible task, and one that the COG is more than happy to help on. We would need to identify who the lead applicant is going to be. So mostly the agency that would be either in charge of administering the project and all the way through construction, or the one who will receive the funding and pass it on as a pass through to the construction agency. And one of those
doesn't
comes
sound like
with,
it's my position to make a motion, but that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah.
And Kyle, I just as a follow-up to that, make sure I understand who's the lead applicant on the current ReThink Folly? Or
Well,
who's
they're
handling?
Yeah, the town of James Island is the well, I guess Nick or Kristen could explain this better than I can. They're the current contract holder for tools programmatic contract, but any of the jurisdictions could apply for this RAISE grant. It would be nice if it became a joint application with one lead applicant, either doing the administration or supplying the majority of the 20% non-federal match.
Is there a particular segment, since you've looked at sort of the criteria, and I know they're going to broaden it a little bit, but is there a particular segment that you think or part of our project would be suitable for this type of grant?
Oh, absolutely. If the grant criteria continues to be the same as it was the last cycle, then we would hit on much of the economic, mobility, and safety components of it. The equity component of it, I think we could also make a strong case for, but who knows if they'll change all the criteria today.
Right. Well, please keep us updated on what the new criteria is, and if you have the ability to send that over to Tool or someone that can circulate it to this entire group once it comes, that would be helpful. Mayor Woolsey.
So I believe that in the town initially made an application to the COG to start the phase 1 of ReThink Folly. And it was a much smaller scale project. And then at some point, and in this part of the story, I should remember exactly, but I don't. It was folded into a much larger project that I believe the county became the lead. And so that currently, of course, the county's managing the project. It's phase 1. And at that time, the city of Charleston and the town of James Island both, agreed to contribute $400,000 out of our funding, and then TST money was put into it. So right now, I would say phase 1, the county is the lead, and if we move to phase 2, you're moving out of town jurisdiction for the most part, and I would think the county is the logical lead, and so really checking with the county and seeing how much effort they can put into. They have a full plate, we know, to working on the funding in the grant. And then, of course, the other, maybe the city could do that as well. But anyway.
Let me just, I'm trying to look down my list while I'm looking at the screen so it doesn't look I'm not paying attention. Is somebody from the county in the panelist list? I'm looking down real quickly and I don't see.
Yeah, I'm here from zoning and planning. I don't know if that's who you're looking for.
Hey, Emily. Yeah, well, I just wanted to, and I know I've talked about this with Deborah and she's presented on a bunch of these, but I wanted to see if maybe we can make a note to follow up on who the appropriate applicant might be on this and sort of what the county's role transitioning into phase 2 can be, just so that we don't lose any momentum on this, because I don't want the funding to be an issue when the opportunity is right here. And if it's going to take some legwork, we just need to all work together on how to make it happen. So I'll make sure that Nikki gets it in the notes, but also if you wouldn't mind helping me to follow up with transportation as well, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you so much. And sorry, I didn't see your name in there. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about the grant opportunities? We will definitely follow up on that, but thank you so much, Kyle. The next item is number 6, the jurisdictional updates. So if we want to start with the city, Jim, is that you today?
Council member,
yes.
I did want to just touch on the TST application real quick before we leave that. So I think, as everyone will recall, at our last couple of meetings, we've talked about phase 2 projects and the segments, one segment being from George Griffith down to South Grimble, another segment being from South Grimble down to Soul Green. And one of the things that we are working on right now is putting together some narrative for a Charleston County transportation sales tax application. Normally those are due in the spring. I think most folks on this call realize that Tool Design's contract will expire at the end of this year. And so I guess, just as an aside, I do want to say thank you, and we've really enjoyed working with everybody the last 3+ years. But we're trying to go out with a bang. We're not wanting to go out with a whimper. So we are taking the time and resources that we have remaining this year to try to write as much of that application narrative as we can for the TST application. So we're going to get that just as far along as we can by December 31st. And then we will be passing that off to staff to get it completed when the submittal time comes around in the spring. So just wanted to let y'all know that is happening as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Ernie. Yes, Katie Zimmerman.
Hey, not to kind of jump around. My opinion on Folly when it comes to a raise grant, I don't see a viable path forward for a 2023 raise grant application for Folly Road, especially because we haven't even defined the scope of phase 2 yet. And there's been no public engagement, public input. So we don't even really know what it is we're proposing to do, other than what's outlined in the ReThink Folly Road plan, which I'm pretty certain we wouldn't stick with that entirely. I think there's a lot of preparation leading up to a first raise grant application that we could get done over the next year and then be in a better position to consider applying for 2024. That's just my 2 cents on this.
Well, as one who's been very successful with raise and build grants and Tiger grants, we certainly value your input, Katie. And that's why I was wondering if there wasn't something smaller, more developed that would be appropriate for this grant cycle. But absolutely. And knowing that there's multiple funding sources, for instance, the TST as well. And again, Ernie, thank you for all the hard work of the tool group and for finishing strong on that narrative. We really appreciate that, because obviously it's critical to keep moving. Representative Wetmore.
Thank you. I was just going to, and I'm sorry to skip around, so if anybody else has anything on the raise grant, I'll defer. But as to the TST, I'd love to also put that in my name as an application. But we can talk about that when the time comes with whatever local government jurisdiction is going to take the lead on it. I'd love to also put my name on that when the time comes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anybody else for the grant opportunity questions? Mayor Woolsey, I saw you take your phone off mute. Did you have anything to add on that, or?
No.
Okay. All right, then. Then now we can move on to jurisdictional updates, and usually we start with the city. So Jim, if you are ready, if there's anything, or whoever's.
Yeah, thank you. So I have 2 updates for today. One is the Battery Island PUD that we've been talking about the last few meetings is going to be up for a 3rd reading next Tuesday. So that's a final reading on next Tuesday at City Council. The other update I have is 1320 Folly Road will be before Planning Commission tomorrow at 5 p.m. And that is for rezoning from limited business to general business. And the reasoning behind that, it's the auto repair shop, and not to get too far into the weeds, but they have a non-conforming use right now with the way that they're storing cars on their parcel zoned LB. So we're trying to get them into compliance with the GB zoning, and hopefully we can get that rezoning change, and then have them do the necessary landscaping and buffers that are required along with that multi-use path that's required. So they kind of did some work without actually going through the formal process, and we're trying to get it cleaned up and into compliance. So that, like I
Jim-
said, that's planning commission tomorrow night at 5.
Just to ask a quick question on that non-conforming use and bringing it into compliance, how long does that take with the city? Does that require 3 readings?
So the planning commission will give a recommendation, then we'll go to city council for 3 readings.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much, Councilmember Parker. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the update, Jim. But just so everyone knows, I mean, the Battery Island PUD, as you know, I mean, it's approved. It's going to happen. The city approved it first reading and second reading. Nothing can be changed third reading. So they have annexed that parcel into the city, and we will see a hotel there in the overlay, in the conservation district. So just so everyone is fully aware of that. And I fought against it. I was not for it. We know that our former council member was very much in support of this. Unfortunately, the rest of the city did not feel the same way. So just so everyone's up to date.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Parker. Does anybody have any questions about that or the specifics of the PD? All right, we can move on to the town of James Island. Kristen or whomever would like to speak.
Hi, it's Kristen. I don't believe we have any updates.
Great. Well, thanks for being on. Anybody have any questions about anything they've seen in the town before we move on? All right, and now the county. So Emily, this might be more your purview, but do you have any updates to bring for the unincorporated area?
I do have one update. Thank you for asking, Councilmember Honeycutt. I just wanted to share that Charleston County is working on the 5-year review of our comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan is the future vision for preservation and development in Charleston County for the next 5 to 10 years. And it establishes strategies for the county to pursue, to maintain and enhance its high quality, unique landscapes, with a focus on strategies that the county government can directly influence and achieve. And the reason why I bring it up is because while there are a lot of opportunities for public input throughout the review process, we are kickstarting that right now with our online survey, which is available online, directly can be accessed from the Charleston County website homepage. And that survey will be live until January 3rd of next year, 2023, which is closer than we think. So I just wanted to put that out there. We appreciate any and all responses. And if anyone wants to promote them on their social media or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have some QR codes I can share with anyone. We also have opportunities to fill out the survey at all of the Charleston County libraries. So if you know anyone with accessibility issues or that might need assistance to complete the survey, please encourage them to seek out that opportunity. And that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, please, if you have the ability or use social media, we would really appreciate you sharing that link, because obviously, especially in these areas that we are all working together in these overlay areas, the unincorporated certainly plays a part in connection with everybody else. So please share that as you see fit. Any other updates? Anybody else have anything to add before we close the meeting? Well, thank you all. Oh, we do have one hand up. Sorry. I can't see it. It's Ms. Parker.
Thanks, Chair, Ms. Honeycutt. I do just want to add, you know, that I've been a year with ReThink Folly Road, and I recall a previous upzoning where everyone was really upset about the neighborhood district that it was upzoned in. I'm just curious, everyone's thoughts on the hotel being in this conservation district. Does anyone have an opinion, a comment? Because I heard plenty at the last upzoning. Nope.
Cynthia,
Okay.
I think she has her hand. Well, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the mayor
Yes.
has a comment. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Councilwoman Pignano. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Jenny. And I'm disappointed about that. I'm disappointed about the hotel. We had a similar option come up in the town, and it just wasn't a good fit. And I just don't think for, conservation areas or for our infrastructure, which really cannot handle much more than what it's already got, it was a bad idea.
Mayor Woolsey?
Well, Carolyn Parker, thank you so much for fighting the good fight. And, perhaps, this body could have said something about it. I think holding the line on our conservation on the Folly Road overlay and the conservation district is important. And, I'm disappointed that the city has put a hotel in the conservation district. So that's my opinion.
Well, thank you both for saying that. And I just kind of wanted to be clear that, what we're trying to do and what y'all have kind of educated me on this year with the ReThink Folly Road overlay is that if we're not taking a multi-jurisdictional approach, if each jurisdiction isn't doing what's necessary in these specific zones, then, what's the point? So I appreciate you saying that, but I just want everybody to be aware that these things are going on. And unfortunately, I couldn't stop it. So.
Well, thank you. One thing, totally different subject that made me think of was we had a discussion about having an in-person meeting at a later time so that people could participate. So when we schedule our next quarterly meeting, which will be in February, March, I would like to try to do that in person, the winter meeting. And so we'll circulate some times and dates that are available that most people can participate, but just to give a different time that maybe folks after they get off work or whatever can join in, and then just be in the same room again at least once in our quarterly meetings throughout the year. So be on the lookout for that. And if there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for participating. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair Lady.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Same to y'all.
Happy holidays. Thank you.